No matter how old you are, spring registration's coming up. Find out how you can get enrolled. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Myrtle Beach Herald. We're focused on Horry Georgetown Technical College, and we're visiting with its Vice President of Student Affairs and Campus Life, Dr. Rennie Lansberg. Good morning, Rennie.
Good morning, Greg. Nice to be with you.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
In such short notice, pinch hitting for Greg Thompson, our faith columnist. We'd hoped to get him in to highlight Faith Takes Root, a new column that he has kicked off with the Herald about 3 or 4 months ago, which has built a great following in the area, Rennie.
I know Greg will be glad to come back at another time and feel that responsibility.
Hope to get him in, very definitely. But he was so excited. He said, "You got to get Rennie in. There's so much going on, and we're about to wrap up classes, and obviously the spring class will be kicking off in mid-January. There's a great opportunity to highlight much of what's happening in the college right now." He said, "No one better than Rennie."
Well, we're finishing up our fall semester right now, and we're ready to kick off for our spring term. We've already begun registration for the spring term. That's underway as we speak, and look forward to having folks come on in and get that taken care of before we break for the holidays.
We're Georgetown Tech's had so many folks applying and attending recently. Y'all have just had an influx of folks beyond what was imagined, let's say, 5 years ago.
Well, our growth over the last 5 years has been unbelievable, and we're looking forward to see that growth continue. We've already begun our registration, as we said, for spring semester, and we know that students plan their careers not just around one semester. It's a long-range planning process, so we know there are lots of folks that will be enrolling for spring, but there's always the opportunity for new folks to come in. A lot of folks think that college only begins with the fall semester, but at Horry Georgetown Technical College, we also begin with lots of new students entering in January. Those students that are coming in January, they need to come ahead now and get their application done and their applications for financial aid. Right now, Greg, we have about 93% of our student population receiving some type of financial aid.
93%?
93%.
Wow.
So it's almost you apply for application to the college and you apply for financial aid at the same time.
Do most students know that when they're coming in to apply, that they've got a good shot for financial aid?
I think that a lot of our students do expect that there will be some aid that will be provided to them. A lot of students also at one time could expect that their college would be fully funded by financial aid. That's no longer the case, and that's a little bit of a sticker shock for our students. We see that most students can receive the lottery tuition assistance, but that only covers about 75% of their tuition at this point. And the cost of books has risen tremendously in the past few years, and we see that students are not prepared for that sticker shock.
You know, I think about myself when I was in school, let's say 12, 13 years ago, and the cost of books. Why is it that book costs have risen so dramatically? I mean, is there some systemic, is that an issue that everyone's facing, all colleges nationwide, or is that just Horry Georgetown or the Technical College here in South Carolina?
It's a nationwide problem, and I think that lots of times they are changing the edition that the book has been previously, and we also are seeing that students are choosing to keep their books. A lot of times when they're going into the paraprofessional type careers that are the focus of our college, they choose to keep their books because it is a reference book for them as they go into that career. Publishers also are changing the books more frequently, and just the cost of everything has risen, and I think that students aren't prepared for that. Also, students in high school have had their books covered with their cost of attendance.
Right.
That's not the case when students get to college, and so people that are going into radiologic technology or nursing or going into the criminal justice professions, it's important that they keep those textbooks and they have them with them as they go into their professions.
Rennie, I'm so glad you mentioned the wrap-up of the fall semester and so much focus going now into the spring semester. If a viewer was interested in possibly looking at some classes, are they able to go online, or is there a phone number to call to best learn about that?
They can go online to the Horry Georgetown Technical College website, and that's at hgtc.edu. And that gives information about all the programs that we offer, our costs of tuition, contact numbers for applying for admission to the college. The telephone number that is the best number to call is our main number at the Conway campus for our admissions office, and that's 349-5247. No, 5277.
5277, okay. 843-349-5277. And that would give information as to the Georgetown campus, the Conway campus, and the Grand Strand campus.
Correct. And also our North Myrtle Beach off-campus site. It's not an official campus, but courses are being offered there, and that number can access information about that campus.
Now, a heck of a lot of courses are being offered online as well, aren't they?
Yes, distance learning has become one of our very popular modes of delivery, and a lot of students take courses from their homes, or they take courses through a distance learning lab on one of those 3 campuses.
Rennie, real quick about yourself, for viewers who may not have met you here in the community. Of course, you know the bulk of our viewers are in the PD and southeastern North Carolina, so less than a third of our viewers are here in Horry and Georgetown area, and there's 3 or 4 technical colleges and community colleges that serve our viewership. But are you originally from the area?
I was born in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and went to school at Winthrop College. It was Winthrop College then, is now Winthrop University, and attended Wake Forest for my master's degree in counseling.
Is that right? Great.
Worked in the technical college system now for more than 30 years.
Oh, come on.
More than
right 30 out of
years.
High school.
Older
Wow.
than dirt, as my brother-in-law would say.
Golly, I'd get rid of that brother-in-law.
Yeah, but and then when I was working at Greenville Technical College, they sent me to the University of Texas for my doctorate. And so my doctorate is in higher ed administration, and I've been working with the technical colleges in 3 locations. I call it 3 corners of the state. I started at Beaufort Technical College, which is now Technical College of the Low Country. Worked there for 2 years, and then worked at Greenville Technical College for 13 years. Went to Virginia for a few years, and then came back to Horry Georgetown Technical College in '95.
Is that right? That's fantastic. You've been here since 95.
95.
That's not long before you and I met for the first time in Leadership Grand Strand. I think
That's
class
right.
18 back 97, 98. So you've just been here about the same amount of time that I have. And I think I saw that you're married to somebody who was in the technical college system as well.
That's right. My husband was the business manager for the college, and after he retired, we married about 5 years ago. We celebrated our 5th anniversary now.
Congratulations. That's very exciting. Of course, it's always fascinating to hear folks talk about meeting somebody in their profession and finding some common loves, and obviously making that work out outside of the office.
I was an old maid for 50 years, so it was a big step for me.
That would be a big step. Congratulations. I'm glad that worked out well. What are some of the most commonly asked questions that you find from students coming in the door the first time? Obviously, that aspect, as you said, so many folks thinking about financial aid being something that they kind of counted on, and then recognizing there's some new hurdles they've got to follow, which are easily done. I mean, those steps can be forms and otherwise filled out for federal funds as well as state-supported funds. But what are some of the most common questions that you hear when someone either calls into the office, or you may not be hearing them directly, but anecdotally?
One of the things I think that a lot of people don't know exactly what career area they want to go into. And they want to know, is there someone there that can help them make that career decision? It's all the people need to do is make the phone number or contact and call the college and just say, I'm interested in coming to college, but I don't know a thing about it. I'm a first-time college student. No one in my family has gone to college. And there is career counseling that is available. They can be scheduled with a career counselor immediately, and there's a private evaluation done with that individual about what kinds of things they like, what their interests are, and what their abilities are. And then our program is set up so that a student can be a brand new person to the college experience, and we can assess where they need to start and work with them from that point.
Great.
I think making that step, I worked with a counseling group at one time, and I tell this story almost every time I deal with new students. And one of the people that was in this counseling group said to me, they said, I have driven to the college about 10 times, and I've never had the nerve to get out of the car.
Wow.
And I think it's hard when we work in colleges day in and day out to know that that fear of making the step onto a college campus exists for lots of people. And it's a step that can be easily bridged by just making that phone call in advance and making the step that's necessary in that door. It's a scary experience for lots of folks, and when you've been out of college for so long, we forget that. And I try and remind my staff on a daily basis that being a first-generation college student is very difficult because it is an unknown. They don't know what experience exists for them as they walk through that door. And people want to know how much it costs. They want to know, will there be any financial assistance for me? Some of them start the process very late, and that's a big mistake. Our semester doesn't begin in January until the middle of January. If someone is interested in going to college right now, they should be making those steps. They should apply and begin to talk with people at the college so we can be sure that they're getting into the career that they're really interested in.
And so oftentimes one of the great things about tech is, I think I heard you recently discussing some of the median ages and some of the aspects. These are students oftentimes in their mid-20s or even older starting out.
Yeah, the average age of our student population is beyond 25 years of age.
Right.
A lot of people think everybody begins college right out of high school, but they don't. We have a lot of older students, a lot of people who have decided that the career that they originally entered is not the one that they want to stay in for the rest of their life. And that can be a transition also that's very scary. We have students that come into the classroom thinking, I'm going to be the oldest one in the classroom. These 18-year-old high school graduates are so sharp today. And what we find is that that older student can add a spice to the classroom that the 18-year-old can benefit from. And it's a wonderful partnership when we have an older student come back to school.
Absolutely, and that camaraderie, even oftentimes the younger student with the professor and the three of them working together, or even that older student with the professor. There's a great camaraderie, I'm sure, in the classroom there. And those classrooms are so advanced now. Rennie, was fascinated visiting the Georgetown campus and seeing these virtual classrooms. It's incredible.
Well, our smart classrooms use a lot of technology, and I think that's also a great fear for the older student because they have not had access to the technology like sometimes the high school students have had. It is a fear that is easily overcome after they've been in the classroom for about a week. The professors teach the classroom as if no one in the classroom had any knowledge of that technology. So they start from ground zero with those individuals, and so it's not a scary transition. They can make that step very easily.
That's fascinating. Rennie, let's talk about, of course, one of the things, about 3 weeks ago we had Ernie Passaleg in on Carolina People, the executive director of the South Carolina Education Lottery, and there's so many misperceptions about lottery funds that I know obviously that happens a lot at Tech or at multiple schools in the area. I mean, concerns about where those funds are coming from, and maybe you could help break down some of the myths. What about who's eligible for lottery tuition assistance?
Well, that's one of the biggest misperceptions that exists with lottery tuition assistance. I think that financial aid for so long was financial aid for the financially needy individuals, and that need does still exist, and that is probably the biggest pool of financial aid is the Pell Grant. But the lottery tuition assistance is not based on need. It is based on your being a South Carolina resident and carrying 6 credit hours or more.
Just 6 credit hours?
That's it. 6 credit hours or more, and being a South Carolina resident. Now, one of the things that the legislature has required is that students complete the FAFSA, which is the Federal Application for Free Student Aid. So it gives the perception that it is based on need. But the thing that the legislature wanted to determine was, is there federal aid that is available for students first? And if there is not, then the lottery tuition assistance is there. The federal aid is usually a larger pool of money, and therefore they want to be sure that students take advantage of that first. So the first step in applying for the lottery is applying for the Pell Grant. That misconception then has been carried on in that it is a need-based financial aid award, and it is not. Individuals that want to take a college course, they have to be taking 2. They have to be carrying 6 credit hours. They have to fill out the FAFSA, but they then qualify for the lottery tuition assistance. The exact dollar amount of that lottery tuition assistance varies from semester to semester, but it typically covers approximately 75% of the tuition costs for an in-state resident.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. I mean, that is surely something that has changed the landscape within the last few years, just that aspect of providing that level of support.
A South Carolina resident would be paying $1,340 in tuition without the lottery tuition assistance. Once the lottery tuition assistance is running about 75% of that, so the students end up paying about $400 in tuition per semester if they qualify for the lottery. They may qualify for the Pell Grant and pay even less than that. So once we have a student apply to the college, we strongly encourage them to apply for the Pell Grant immediately so we can determine what the exact cost will be for their enrollment.
Now, are any of the tuition funds available for adults or otherwise who are looking into continuing education, or is this just for obviously the 6 credit hour component, but wouldn't some folks, or are there no credit hours involved in continuing education?
Continuing education is measured in a different standard other than credit hours. It's measured in continuing education units. And the lottery tuition assistance is not available for non-credit courses. There are some special scholarships that we have, particularly for the types of jobs that we have advertised at the college as quick jobs, and those are through our continuing education unit.
Rennie's graduation from high school, to the best of your knowledge, requirement to be able to apply for lottery tuition dollars?
You do have to be a high school graduate. No, you have to be enrolling in college. And high school graduation is not an absolute requirement, but it is always encouraged, particularly for the younger people.
Right. Well, you know, I'm sure so many folks who just didn't finish high school but later go on to get a GED, for instance, and want to be able to take advantage of that to apply to college and even apply for the lottery tuition dollars.
In our rules, a GED is a high school graduate.
Oh, great.
A person who has completed their GED has completed all the requirements for graduating from high school, and they are considered a high school graduate in our eyes. So. But students even who have not completed their GED, if they meet the minimum requirements for attending our college, which is based on some test results that we administer and we charge nothing for, they can meet those requirements without having graduated from high school.
I don't know how oftentimes we see this at Horry Georgetown Tech. It's probably much more common, but in our border communities where Horry and Brunswick County meet, or Horry and Marion meet, or Columbus and Marion, if you're a full-time employee in South Carolina, if there are aspects and you're not a full-time resident, I wonder if there are opportunities to be able to apply for South Carolina tuition dollars.
In order to qualify to be a South Carolina resident, there are criteria in the South Carolina laws that an individual must meet. If an individual lives in North Carolina but works in South Carolina, then they can qualify for South Carolina residency. There are some hoops they have to jump and some papers they have to fill out, but they can qualify for South Carolina residency rates.
That's wonderful. Now,
the students that are in different counties have a county differential that's a little bit higher than totally in Horry and Georgetown counties. But it's not tremendous.
So someone in Marion County could come to the Conway campus, but they'd be probably potentially even encouraged financially to go to Florence Darlington Tech to look at classes there, so they wouldn't have to pay that uptick for entering Conway.
If they chose to come to Horry Georgetown Tech, maybe because we offered some program that Florence Darlington did not offer, there's about a $300 differential in the tuition that they would pay. And the reason for that is that Horry County and Georgetown County contribute significantly to our college, and therefore the cost of the residents in those counties is defrayed.
Let's think about some of the new programs that have kicked off either this year or over the last couple of years that have had tremendous success or oversubscription. I know the digital arts program, we think about Gary Davis having left his role within the college to take on this very exciting new venture, the digital arts program. We've seen even some employees here at the station who joined that, are very excited at doing that on their spare time and really making a big commitment to that.
That's a very big one, and I'll tell you, it has been, the enrollment in that program has been just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Gary has done a very exciting job in recruiting students to that program and continues to have student interest just be outstanding.
Mm-hmm. How about some other programs, Rennie, that have kicked off that have gotten that kind of subscription success?
Well, one of the things that we are looking at that we will be offering next fall is a construction management program.
Oh, great.
One of the things that we are hearing from builders in the area is that they have the builders that come in, but they don't have individuals that are interested in staying long-term with a construction firm in managing a site. And so that is what that program will be tailored toward, is site management for the construction area. We also have a reputation out there now, Greg, that is not too good with regards to our wait lists for our allied health programs. One of the things that we would like for the public to know is that that should not stop students from applying for those programs. The allied health profession is one that we expect to continue to boom in this area, particularly with a lot of retirees coming to this area. We know that the healthcare business will be a big business in this area. We are continually reviewing the number of seats that we have in those programs. That's our diagnostic medical sonography program, our radiologic technology program, our associate degree nursing program, our practical nursing program. All of those are very exciting opportunities, dental assisting, dental hygiene.
Why is there such an incredible need for nursing programs? I mean, why would not, what is that, is there a huge cost in launching those programs such that other schools wouldn't launch multiple programs, because there's an incredible dearth of nurses available for an incredible number of needs in the area?
Well, the profession and hospitals are growing in the area. The doctors' offices are growing in the area. We have had a finite number of seats that we have had for several years, and we've increased those over the last 2 years.
Right.
Almost doubled the numbers of seats available in those programs. We're offering those programs on the Georgetown, Grand Strand, and Conway campuses, many of those programs. But it is a high-cost program.
It is.
It is a high cost because you have trained professionals who can earn a great deal in the marketplace that are teaching those programs, but the equipment is extremely costly, and also you have to arrange the clinical rotations in the hospital systems. One of the things that the hospital systems are also requiring is that the students who enter these programs undergo a criminal background check or a SLED check. So we're finding that the students that are entering these programs must be squeaky clean with regards to their own criminal background before they can enter such professions.
Wow, well, that's good to know. Rennie, we've got less than a couple of minutes, and I was really excited when I was reading a little bit on you earlier this morning on an initiative you'd led to establish a child development center at Tech, at Horry Georgetown Tech. I'm not sure if that's something you had learned through your time at Texas or at Wake Forest or Greenville Tech or otherwise down in the low country. Share with the viewers just a quick plot summary on that and how successful that's been.
One of the things that we always discovered with our students, Greg, was that child care needs were a critical thing that often either prevented students from enrolling or caused them to have to withdraw once they had enrolled. We worked in a partnership with Waccamaw Head Start to create a child development center on our campus that is available to the public, but they have given priority to our students for placing their children there. So that has served a need with our students. The child development center on our campus only serves 3- and 4-year-olds, so it's limited a little bit, but it has been a wonderful opportunity for students to drive to the campus, drop off their child, go on to classes, come back and have lunch with their child, and then pick up their child on their way home. It saves the transportation costs. It gives them security of knowing that their child is close if there were an emergency or if they wanted to just drop by and participate in the child care that's going on with their child.
Rennie, when you talk to your staff about that now student who drove to campus 10 times, never got out of her car, if we were talking to a viewer now and you had less than a minute to explain why you need to not only make that effort to drive to campus or make that phone call, but why you need to get out of the car, when they get into the classroom, what will be that huge weight that's been lifted off their shoulders that they just can't imagine getting lifted off right now?
I would say to our viewer, the most important thing is pick up the phone and make that call. Once you have made contact with any of our staff at the college, you will know that they are customer friendly. They are concerned about making your transition into college an easy transition, and that they will see that you are delivered to the next person in the process so that it's a very easy, painless transition into college. We want it to be easy for our students, and we want to make sure that they leave with a good taste in their mouth and they're ready to go on to the next step in their career. We are developing people for our community and for the jobs that exist here, and we want to make it as easy as possible.
Rennie, those are great words. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Enjoyed it very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Greg.
Stay tuned for more Carolina People with Dr. Rennie Lansberg coming up next. First day of December, it's either 4 words or 4 letters or even 10 numbers. Write down these numbers: 843-349-5277. The 4 words are Horry Georgetown Technical College. And pick up the phone. Pick up the phone. Call that number, 843-349-5277. Those 4 letters are HGTC. But you got to put a .edu right after it. Take the time to go online. They've got an amazing website, tons of information. But again, if you don't have access to the internet, pick up that phone. Horry Georgetown Tech, even if you're outside of their service area and you don't want to drive in from Laurinburg or from Brunswick County, they'll introduce you to the school closest to you, the community college or technical college that can support your needs. But pick up that phone, 843-349-5277.